today's topic is ways to make them fun. And so we're really excited to dive into it all. So chores, why are they so important? And if your child does not have chores, you may have some house help with cleaning or feeding dogs or a housekeeper that comes over. So if your child does not have chores, I highly encourage you, again, it's just a suggestion, to reconsider that. Why? Because developmentally, it's so important for children, teens, and to have chores in their house. It teaches them responsibility. It teaches them all the executive function skills in a natural and organic way. And it helps children. And when I say children, I'm always referring to kids, preteens, teens. It helps them feel they're contributing to their family. They're helping. It instills confidence in them. And because we know that when we help others, it makes us feel good. And so research shows that when kids contribute to something else, or they feel much more involved and invested in something, they feel like they belong. And that's what we're doing when we are asking them to do chores. For parents, however, assigning the chores can be overwhelming. What's too hard? What's too easy? How much? It's easier for us to just do the chores sometimes than for us to be quote unquote nagging them to do it. And it's frustrating because there's lots of lack of follow through. We've all been there. So the goal today is for us to share some strategies with you to make this whole process less overwhelming and increase their follow through with some quick tools and strategies that hopefully you can implement ASAP today. And again, as I always mention in our chats, please just take 1 or 2 snippets of this, stick with it for a week or two, and then you can try something else. And the reason for that is because if you try to do all the things we'll share with you, it will be too overwhelming, okay? And you will not do any of them. Okay, so why are they so overwhelming or challenging for kids, children, teens, preteens, whoever you want to talk to follow through? And again, it's not just for them, it's also for us. For kids with ADHD, it can be overwhelming. The ask can be too vague, right? So if we say clean your room, it could feel endless for them. Where do I even start? There's so much I could tackle in this room that they're so overwhelmed by all the steps that what's the point? They're not going to start it. They put it off because there's no immediate reward to it. They're not invested or bought into it because frankly, they don't care. So for example, lots of our kids have pretty messy binders, and parents are a lot of parents really want their binders to be really clean and organized. Some of these kids really do not care. And so it's like, where do you pick and choose your battles, right? So there's no immediate reward for them. It's boring, so it doesn't stimulate the brain's reward center. Let's be frank. Cleaning our room, organizing the binder, it's not rewarding. It's like taking down decorations. It's not rewarding. What is rewarding is putting up the decorations, but taking them down is pretty mundane and boring. It's hard, so it requires lots of fine motor skills that maybe they have not developed yet, such as maybe making their bed or folding their clothes. And it's not a priority. Again, they could care less about making their beds in the morning. We hear from a lot of kids that they're fine having a messy bed and then jumping straight into it at the end of the night. They often forget too, so they struggle to remember what they need to do. And so for kids with ADHD, remembering things is either now or never. And so they're not going to remember to do it. And they don't have the mental bandwidth that day, right? So again, a lot of kids with ADHD have slower processing speeds. And so remembering to do a chore or the energy they need to exert themselves to actually do the chore, they just don't have it that day. And again, they're struggling. So we know based off all of this that they're not lazy. These are symptoms of how ADHD is impacting them and their executive function skills. And there are several more reasons that we could discuss as to why these chores are so challenging, but these are just some of a few. Again, it varies by person, it varies by age, it varies by phase, etc. So what can you do? We're going to share with you 3 things you can do that will hopefully make things easier. Number 1 is help them break things down into micro steps and be very specific about your steps. For example, if you're asking them to clean the room, right, we don't want to make that very vague. What part of the room would you like them to clean? Maybe it's just their desktop area. So make it very specific. Or you say, pick up your room, pick up the clothes on the floor, throw away any trash, put the books on the shelf. Be very specific and make the instructions short and quick for them to do. Another thing you can do is use visual aids so that you're not reminding them of all the different steps, right? So this is the order that we're going to do things in. You could also create checklists for them. And I wouldn't, developmentally, it's appropriate for your kids to start doing this collaboratively at any age. So you can make the checklist together. If you feel like your child is ready to do the checklist on their own, they can try. Again, we encourage you guys to do this collaboratively though, or they can try it and then you can offer support to kind of fill it in and add a couple more things. A lot of kids will feel like if they're not the ones doing it, then it's not something they're going to be truly invested in, right? So, and when we're asking them to do all of this, again, we don't want to, it's not coming from us, but it's how is this going to affect you and what is the value that our family is tied to, right? So in our family, we value making on things that are orderly, right? And so the common spaces need to be kept orderly. So perhaps it's their personal space doesn't need to be kept orderly, but common spaces do. What else do we value? We value taking care of each other, and that includes our pets. So they need to contribute to that. And I am going to take care of you, provide food, put food on the table. I'm going to purchase the food for our pets, and you're going to be the one that's putting the food on them. You could also make a list of chores that you feel are appropriate ready for them to do. And if you go online, you can find age-specific chores that are appropriate. You can ask them, out of all of these, pick one that you like to start. And that's a great way because then you're giving them a choice and that also builds some motivation. Again, focus on one instruction at a time or create a checklist so they have a visual that they can refer back to. You can use all timers and time limits. Time management for these kids is rough. And so they might think of, oh my gosh, it's going to take me forever to do this one step, right? So set up a time. You can do this with them. And so now they know, oh, that actually wasn't really that bad. That probably took less than 20 seconds for me to do, right? So set time limits for them, such as feeding the dog might take them 2 minutes or less. Work with power of 10 minutes. We really like this one, and you can set a timer for it. So set a timer for 10 minutes. The child works until the timer goes off, right? So this one's a little more fun. It's a little more frantic. It's a way for you to build some novelty, but you can say, hey, we're just going to work on organizing or cleaning your room for 10 minutes. You tackle this area, I'll tackle this area. As soon as the timer goes off, we can stop if you want. And that's really important for you to say because you can also keep going once the timer goes off. Usually some kids we find will continue to keep going. So it's just a way to get started. You could add, so a timer just helps them see how much time is left. And it also helps them to estimate more accurately how long these chores are actually taking them to do. Again, timers work for some and not all because some kids who have anxiety will not want to work with the timer. And then add some pizzazz to it, right? So when I'm folding clothes, what do? I typically call someone, call my mom, I call my friends, call my cousin. So add some pizzazz to it, put some music on, make it fun for them and for yourself. So let's tidy up your room while we listen to these next 3 Beyonce songs, right? You can gamify the task. So you can roll a dice to pick the next task, and then you can also race each other. And that one's a little more for the primary kids. However, for even middle school, you can have a list of chores, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they can roll the dice and choose which one they're going to do per day, right? So you can have a list of like 5 or 7 chores. And then you can partner up. So work alongside them or they can work alongside their sibling. Community builds motivation as well. And so for you to integrate community and doing it alongside someone else with them, it's very helpful. Um, they can also do it while on their phone with a friend, right? That's also not just community, but it's also adding some pizzazz to it. And so, what are some ways to motivate them? I would acknowledge any step they did towards the chore. And maybe when they don't do the chore, let's consider not coming down on them so hard, right? So validate how they're feeling. Hey, I know that today was a really rough day for you. You failed your chemistry test. You got in trouble. And I know that feeding the dog was probably not something at the top of your mind today. How about I take over it today and tomorrow we can connect again? And so, again, that's you validating what they're experiencing, how they feel, and then discussing with it tomorrow. So, tomorrow it can be like, I get that sometimes we have really overwhelming days. There are some things that we can put off and some things that are needed for us to do daily. And feeding the dog is one of them because the dog needs food, right? And so, you can start where do we prioritize? Where do we focus our energy on those days when we're feeling pretty down? So acknowledge any effort they make. Thank you for putting any effort or wins that they've done. So thank you for putting away your laundry without me asking today or reminding you to do it. Really appreciated that. These kids work off of a carrot better than not a stick. In fact, we all do. And so pointing out the positives and focusing on what is working will make more things work for your household. And then offer choices. So give autonomy to reduce any resistance, we said. So this is the list of chores. Where would you want to start, or what would you like to pick up here to contribute to the household? Or you can just say, we're going to clean the table tonight when family comes over. Would you like to load the dishes or clean the table? Pick one or the other, right? And the siblings can rock, paper, scissors this out. Right, so that is what we have for chores. And again, all of these strategies you can apply to most children of all ages, which is really exciting. If you're looking for some summer support or to fill in some learning gaps or to front load next year's concepts, please reach out to us at wethrive.learning.com. Schedule a call with me. I'd love to chat with you guys. On the call, I always provide strategies for the home to use, free resources that we have here. And of course, we work on personalizing the support plan for your child and creating their learning profile. So I would love to get in touch with you and see if we can get your child ready for next year.